What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to GOALAZO here on FSI. I'm Alex Hooper, just trying to bring you some GPP tips, tricks, approaches, yada, 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 for this. I think it's game week 8. Regardless, the international break is over, and thank God, for a number of reasons. We're back. So rare has been going on, but the international break's tough over there too. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have club football back. Before we get into it, gotta ask you again, please, please, please subscribe to FSI for all the great content here. You'll see more of my bright and shining face. Although that might be a turn off to subscribing, but if not, like the video, let everybody know that FSI is the home for quality DFS soccer content. And of course, leave a comment if you have one. I'd love to engage you. Also, follow me on Twitter at Lex Hooper. We can talk about all this stuff. All right, enough of the sales pitch. Let's get into it. All right, really quick, I want to draw your attention right here to this notepad. I'm not going to pull up the odds like normal because I just did a tiny little thing that I wanted to go over. So the only minus money favorite on this slate is Manchester City at home against Burnley. No explanation needed there. Minus 770. I might actually have to pull up the odds again because I want over-unders, but really quick. Burnley, obviously a big dog. The next biggest favorite is going to be United away to Leicester, plus 113, Leicester 256, Brighton just behind at plus 116 at Norwich, a plus 277 dog, Villa plus 132 at home against Wolves, Wolves plus 247, and then Southampton plus 144, the favorite against Leeds at home plus 200. Southampton is at home, to be clear. Before I get to these little numbers really quick, let's look at these over-unders. So City and Burnley, 3.5 total, lean on the under, but you can kind of see what's going on there. 2 3/4 for Southampton and Leeds. Same for Leicester and United. Southampton leads with, just the smallest bit of edge to the over, the opposite for United. And then 2 1/4 for Brighton against Norwich, and Wolves, Villa. Let's see, a little more juice on the over for Villa and Wolves than what is going to be the lowest scoring environment in Norwich versus Brighton. All right, so just really quick, these numbers. This is basically, it's the team's XG versus their opponent's XG allowed. I could have done it more mathematically, but this is just kind of an overall assessment of the team's scoring chances based on XG. Obviously, City way ahead here. United barely with an edge. So you kind of see this in the odds, really. Brighton and Southampton actually exact at 21.4, but Leeds 21.8. Hey, Wolves barely ahead of Leicester, and then Villa second to last against Burnley. So this is going to kind of not fully guide what I'm saying about the goal scorers for GPP, but it's just kind of an idea of, like, obviously City's in a great place to score. And then in terms of teams that might score, it's this little area here, little tiny drop off here, and then Villa's kind of lagging behind. So when I say I don't love Villa, Wolves are a decent defense, even at home for Villa. That's the thing, is some of these favorites are on the road, Brighton and United, and then Leeds on the road. They're a dog, but this is essentially a pick 'em. So okay, let's get into the actual players really quick right here. Ooh, I tipped my hand a little bit. That's what I wanted. I think this is how a lot of people start. The one problem here, Phil Foden finally a forward. There's a lot of Fs. You can finally play him there, which is fantastic. The one problem is Sofa, at least, currently has him playing in that false nine role. But I mean, that could be Bernardo Silva. Who knows with Pep? But if check the lineups when they come out per usual. But if he's here, maybe he's not as much of a lock. But he's been fantastic for fantasy and just overall. So I think this is kind of where most people start. So let's go through the players really quick. The easy switch off with Foden, like in a cash lineup, Pascal Gross against Norwich. He always gets there. Bad team. Home, right? We just went over this. Yeah, no, he's not. Literally just talked about it. You can make that change. Mars is right here. Grealish, you could find him. De Bruyne, I mean, obviously the best spot, best player. That's an easy one. And then Nathan Redmond, no James Ward-Prowse for Southampton. Scoring environment, pretty cheap. Going to be on the sets. Like for a cash lineup, that makes the most sense. I think in terms of, I mean, if you like Foden, Redmond's fadeable in GPP. If he scores, not going to be a great day for you, but it's not really his bag. It's more, you got sets here, but he's an attacking player with sets, and that's always dangerous in GPP. All right, let's go through some forwards. Obviously at the top end, like you're either paying for a floor or you're paying for 2 goals. So like for Gross, you're playing for a floor. For Mahrez, you're paying for a floor. Ronaldo, you're paying for multiple goals. Versus Leicester here, I mean, obviously you can do it. He's Ronaldo. And 8,900 is not a ton. So sure, Ronaldo's always in play. I don't know why I need to cover that. El Ghazi, I don't believe is scheduled to be in, but I don't like Villa against Wolves, as we've discussed. If Jesus starts, fine. Like with City, I guess I got to talk about this a little bit. In GPP, you're going to need a lot more goals than in a cash game. So stacking City, especially with their prices, is a little harder. So like if they win 2-0 against Burnley and you have De Bruyne and Jesus and Foden or Mahrez and Foden, whatever, and then Foden and Mahrez score the 2 goals, both are assisted from De Bruyne, like congrats, you're in a nice position. But for what you paid, you're probably going to miss out on some other goals. Maybe not. Maybe, it's the high scoring guys for City and then there are enough low scoring players on the rest of the slate that it works. That's something you have to work out within the lineup. You have to understand the payoff of paying up and whether or not maybe dropping down to a Bernardo Silva, which different player for City than for Portugal, but maybe dropping down to a Bernardo Silva gets you up to someone who might actually score a goal for, an underdog or a lesser favorite, something like that. So the question with these big favorites is always how much is too much? How much do I need? I can't tell you that. Burnley gives up a ton of floor points. So like you just play De Bruyne. Like I don't know that I will fade him. Maybe I will over 20 lineups. There's got to be a good GPP lineup that doesn't include him, but he's just going to rack up so many floor points that the 10-2 plus the ability to score an assist, like it's hard to pass up. That could not be the case with Foden. Foden is a good fade, I think, in GPPs. Just play a different City attacker and you're probably already looking good. Depends on who they are, depends on what you think ownership kind of shakes out at, but I would imagine Foden is the highest owned. I built a cash lineup and it was very easy for me, and that's scary and it probably sucks, but I say that because Foden is in it and it was kind of easy to build, so if it is easy to build with him and he is the most liked player on the most liked team, his ownership's probably going to be high. And sure, people are probably going to pair him with Mahrez and just punt everywhere else and with Grealish and kind of do the same thing. You can do that. There are some cheap options, and I will show you those here in a second. But just be careful. Be careful with how much City you're playing. The other thing too, play these two guys, play Cancelo, play Diaz, play Ederson, and then you have like 2 more spots to fill, and all of a sudden it's a lot easier to build. So fading a singular goal scorer for a favorite and just playing the defensive stack, getting a bunch out of, Cancelo in this case, and getting a clean sheet from Ederson, like that's more than a goal. And you make up for, like if you play Ronaldo, if they're the biggest favorites, and he only scores 1 or doesn't score any, but you played, instead of him, you played, Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka and De Gea, and they get a clean sheet. Like you didn't need Ronaldo, and you've used the forward spot to actually pick up a goal from someone who actually scored a goal. So, all right, let's keep moving. Traore in this matchup, I like him. His usage has gone up so much with Bruno Lage when he's actually on the field, and we might actually get a Traore, Hwang, Jimenez front 3 for Wolves, and I've been all over the place on them this year, but in cash, he's another guy you can go to off of Foden if you don't like Foden's positioning. I expect big things from him, especially like if he gets the opportunity with those 2 guys up there. Like I kind of like Wolves here, and that's bit me before, but I kind of like him. Vardy, bad spot, great player, always finds a way to score, it seems. Go for it if you want. He's probably gonna be more owned than I want, and I'll reluctantly play him, so he probably won't score. Torres out, Rashford, I don't think he'll play. We'll just keep moving. Iheanacho probably not. Trossard 76. If he fits, great play. Absolutely great play. Good floor, good upside. Go for it. Sterling, if he plays, anyone for City is on board. I mean, that price is nice for a City forward. Like that's a great thing to do in GPPs too on a big favorite like this. Like just play the cheapest attacker that starts, and then fill the rest of your lineup out. And if you can get up to another one and you like your lineup, if you can get up to Jesus or whatever, go for it. If Patrick Bamford started, I would be singing his praises, but he is still out. Maupay, getting pretty expensive, but if you can get up to him and he gets a goal, sure. He can score 2. He takes penalties for them. So he's a nice play. I'm not going to prioritize him, but he's a nice play. Hwang has been phenomenal for them. Sure, play him. This is kind of a range that I don't love. Greenwood's perfectly fine. Watkins, if you like Villa more than I do, go for it. He's good. Leon Bailey was actually in the projected starting lineup. He's got a great floor. He can score. I said I don't like the spot against Wolves here, and then you got a guy like Jimenez right below him who I do like more. But in terms of like a cash game, Bailey's not bad at 6,800. He's not my favorite because you can move Redmond into a forward spot, and there's a midfielder that you may have already seen in my lineup earlier that I kind of like more in this spot than Leon Bailey. Again, Jimenez 6,700. I think that's a fantastic GPP play, and I think he'll be owned. Nothing really here. Danny Ings hasn't done much for Villa yet. I don't think he'll be owned, but that's a cheap price, and maybe he finally breaks out. I don't know if, let's look at the Villa lineup. So there's Bailey. Okay, yeah, so the 2 of them. Oh, I skipped over Traore. I don't know how that'll affect sets. I think Bailey would still take, but yeah, so if Ings starts, that's fine. I actually don't love going to Pookie here. Brighton is a top defense in the league. If he gets a pen, fine. Like if you're going to play a Norwich player, just play him. All right, here's the one. Rodrigo, 5,600. He is, let's see, among the players playing, he is 3rd in expected goals plus assists per 90. Vardy 1st, Hwang 2nd, playing with a lot less playing time. But I mean, good scoring environment, good XG, great price. In terms of goal scorers on this slate in GPP, I think Rodrigo is elite. Yeah, I think that's about as good as you can get here. Sancho hasn't done anything. I don't know why you'd play him. Not a ton down here. Rashica always is a nice cheap play in cash. I'm not gonna get to him. Definitely not gonna play Sargent. Yeah, so this is kind of a mess. There's some Southampton players who, like, if they play Walcott, fine. I don't know that he's supposed to. Chris Wood, 4,000. Like, if you're not playing Ederson and you want a huge leverage play against, say, like City is the best defense in the league, probably by far. I don't love the chance, but the leverage is so good that it might be worth a shot. Like, if you fill out the rest of your lineup, you have good floors and upsides with pretty much everyone there, and you have 4,000 left, you need to fill a forward spot, even if you just need to fill the utility spot and you want huge leverage, like, just go to Chris Wood. That's fine. Maybe Burnley get a penalty, but they haven't been as good, and City's been very good. So I don't love it. All right, that's it for forwards. Sorry, I'm a little dry this morning. You can probably hear it in my voice. All right. Mid-only players. I'm only going to touch on the guys who are mid-only. Bruno's fine. He looks a little more unlocked with Ronaldo in, a little freer, less focus on him. So he can kind of waffle. I think it's a good spot against Leicester. I'm not in love with the spot, but for 93, like, maybe he's a good pivot off of Foden. I don't know. Probably, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Grealish, if you start to front, fine pivot off of Foden, fine to pair with Foden. Like, pop Redmond in the forward spot, play Grealish. I don't care. Ward-Prowse is out. Is Harrison supposed to play? Sorry, I gotta work this out like on screen, but I forget every now and then. All right, yeah, so he is. Yeah, I mean, so I might have skipped over Rafinha earlier. And if you're like, why did you just skip over Rafinha? He played like last night for Brazil and scored. But if he plays on Saturday, like, that'd be crazy. So the sets, I believe, would go to Matthäus Klick, to Derek Ray, that pronunciation. You ever hear somebody pronounce someone's name and you're like, God, you sound pretentious, but also like that's the right pronunciation. So I think if you ever hear Derek Ray call a game, he like overpronounces people's names, and you're like, yeah, I know that's his name, but you sound like an idiot. It's just how I feel. Anyway, I think Klitsch is on sets. Harrison, 7,800. Like, if you like him, I don't think he'll be too owned. I don't think he'll be much owned for that regard, but especially like a mid spot only. I don't know. I don't see myself getting there, so he'll probably score. I don't think Lingard's going to play, but sure. Gundogan, if he played, fine spot, although he's not been getting forward for City. Don't love Tielemans. Elianusi scored a brace this week for Norway. Almost had him in my lineup. Played Modric instead, and that still worked. But again, like, another nice Southampton spot you can get to. Pogba at 66, though. I'd probably just play Pogba. I haven't been seeing a lot of Buendia lately, but I don't want to play a whole lot of Villa, nor do I want to play a lot of Norwich. Albrighton's dependent, but that's a cash thing. Klitsch in cash will probably be in my lineup. Dowell, no. Dallas, I always like playing Stuart Dallas. He's fine. It's a nice price. Like, I could see working him in. Cantwell, I don't feel like we've seen a lot. Douglas Luiz has been on sets for Villa at times. If he is again here, I still think it would be Bailey. I mean, they paid all that money for Bailey, but yeah, I don't know, more of a cash guy. Norman is a nice cash play, but again, I don't like them here in terms of scoring. He could put up a nice floor. I don't think Brighton sit back a whole lot, but yeah, whatever. Trinkau's a fine player. Pretty high on this XG list that I'm staring at in front of me, relative to the slate, and that's a cheap price. If he starts, that's fine. Harvey Barnes, 5,000. It's against United, but still, it's a nice leverage play. A lot of cash guys down here. The same thing. Ruben Neves can be a nice GPP dart at 4,600 sometimes. James Madison, how the mighty have fallen. Not a great spot. He's been booty. Daniel James at 4,500. Again, I'm talking a lot about that game. Wonderful. Great. He's wide. They don't have the same options. So like that is what would open up he and Harrison more. Like they're going to need to attack, especially, with no Bamford. They're going to have to do something. I don't know what. I don't know what you do like when you take a Rafinha out of that side, but they're open. So like expect their attackers to get weird. That game should just be weird in general, and that's why we like it. I like Cornet, but not in that game. I don't think Basuma would start, given the news about him, but he's in the projected lineup. Yeah, plenty of this. So the reason I put Nathan Redmond in mid here is because like there's not a lot of guys that are mid only, like that I couldn't just put in forward that I want to play in GPP. Like you look at these guys, it's like, yeah, I guess they're all right for cash. Genepo, actually 3,600 is one of those guys who I could play in mid spot, especially with Redmond. There's a nice little correlation there. I don't know how that works from a Genepo. Yeah, he's like right behind them. I don't know. You can see a drop off, but did I not talk about Adam Armstrong? Did I skip over Adam Armstrong? Hold up. Yeah, 5,800. That's like the last guy I should have skipped over. That's a fantastic play. If you held on past the forward spot, like 5,800 for Adam Armstrong in this game is very good. That's very, very good. Yeah, I love that. I love that spot. Sorry for skipping over him. Let's look at him within the context of who's around. Oh, I went straight to Pookie. I went from Ings to Pookie. Yeah, I missed Armstrong. Like this is very clearly the best play in this area. But then he also got Rodrigo. Play them both. Boom. Boom. Like that's plenty of salary for a defense. Like, so these pay up options are great. Cancelo could go nuts. I mean, for 5,700, wonderful. Shaw, good spot. Whatever. Cucurella, 5,100. He's been nuts. I will try and find a way to get him in my cash lineup. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, I mean, like you can pay down for Pope. Play some good defenders. But let's look at defense a little more. It's when I do these, it's kind of like I don't, you're not playing a lot of defenders for upside. So from a GPP standpoint, like if there are guys who can put up huge volume like these three, then great, they work. And then you kind of get like a fall off, a drop off rather, where like Veltman could be fine, but like just it's 1,000 more for Cancelo, who's like way better. Even Livermento's all the way up here now. Target's not a guy I want here. Walker Peters worked in my cash lineup. Is he even supposed to play? No, left. Oh, he's on the left. That might be different. All right. Is there anyone who stands out? Yeah, see, these are just guys at this point, like just fit. If you want more floor, Junior Firpo in an open matchup, like relative to the center backs that he's around. Like I'd play him over Castagna because they're not a favorite, but more of a chance to win than Castagna. And yeah. But yeah, again, like defenders pairing with your keeper. Shackleton at 3,200 actually is not a bad punt. Interesting. But yeah, like I would say Burnley center backs are in play. More likely to score than probably anyone else with Burnley this weekend. So yeah, pair them. Nothing, no I have no secret sauce on center back goals, unfortunately. So, all right. Keeper, same rules as always. If you can avoid playing, like, you're not going to play Chris Wood here and Ederson. If you can avoid that in cash, I still try to, but it's not as key. Another not rule, but thing that always seems to be the truth, like the drop off in ownership between Ederson and Sanchez is probably going to be large. It's only $500 you save, but you're probably going to get a lot of ownership. So if that makes your lineup work, like, it's worth a roll of dice. Brighton's defense is good. Norwich's offense is very reliant on Timo Pukki. So dropping down to Sanchez is a fine move here. I like him a whole lot more than De Gea at 5,300. Emi Martinez is always great. Wolves aren't a great offense, so that could work. But I mean, when you look at Sa down here in a better spot at home, like, this is probably my favorite keeper on the slate, unless you can get up to those other two. Don't love McCarthy at that price against Leeds. Schmeichel against United is fine because Schmeichel's good, but Leicester's not been great at the back, so there's only so much cash we're going to do. I like Krul a lot more than I like Pope in this matchup, but if you need that 700, like, just go for it. I don't know if that's keeper. Even in GPP, like, fill it in last, or even if you're doing like a 2v2 that's like keeper and some guy that you're not in love with in your lineup, that's fine if you think there's a chance that something goes off. But I mean, Pope could give up 2 and make 14 saves, and all of a sudden you need him, and you're like, you wanted to get cute and pay up for Tim Krul because he might get a clean sheet. Not clean sheet, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, that's that. You might need 3 City here. You might need more City than, you know, a lot of times I'm like, with Chelsea recently, is how much Chelsea is too much Chelsea, and it was like more than 2. Like, just don't do it. And it ended up Chelsea stack actually won that slate because no one else really scored on the slate, and they scored 3, and they were cheap goals. Here, Burnley gives up so much, but you got to balance, like, are you getting enough floor against Burnley versus, you know, what kind of upside you're actually going to get. Even if there's 4 goals, it could be spread out, and you don't need to pay up to just grab 4 goals, because then you're going to have nothing else in your lineup. So balance. If you can get a lot of City and still balance your lineup, by all means. Make some leverage plays off of City. You know, play Wood if you want. I don't know, but that's kind of that. Like, decide on how much you need and play around with builds. I would play around with builds early on this one and see how much City you can get, and still, like, not hate your lineup in terms of, like, is there enough upside to win a GPP here? That's the thing, is you got to find enough upside. And if you're like, yeah, James Tarkowski gives me that, then you're probably in the wrong spot. So, yeah, good luck. I'm glad it's back, but this is kind of a tough one. It's going to be a little harder to balance, but I mean, you can get upside with Rodrigo and Armstrong and still find ways to get City. So hope those 2 guys score. But good luck this weekend. We will talk to you Sunday for GOALAZO, and that's been me. I'm Alex Hooper. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Comment. Tell me where I went wrong. Tell me where you went right. And we'll talk very, very soon. Take care.